Hope everybody's having a great Monday or had a great Monday if you're winding down the evening. For those of you who are music buffs like me, or if you're just listening in and paying attention to the news, you can't help but see and read about the absolute travesty, horrible videos and images of what happened at Travis Scott's concert in Houston at the NRG concert venue. It's just heartbreaking. At least 8 victims have been identified as being dead directly as a result of the stampede and being crushed essentially under the pressure of other people. It's just horrible thing. And thousands more have been injured. I don't know that we know exactly how many injuries there are and if the numbers have surfaced, but we do know that at least 8 people confirmed dead, and we know that hundreds, if not thousands of more people were injured. So naturally, people have started talking about and gossiping about where does this leave Travis in terms of legal liability for those injured and people who continue to come out who want to claim injuries or some sort of recourse against Travis Scott. And the answer is there are already 3 lawsuits that I'm aware of filed by victims of injured people and those who have died as a result of this case. And all of them name, as far as I know, all of them have named Travis Scott. All of them will name the venue, even Live Nation, who put this together, the ticketing brokers, pretty much anyone who was involved in putting this event together is going to get named in a lawsuit eventually. And the simple answer to this from a legal construct is, look, when you have a venue and you invite people into the venue, a public venue, and you need to buy a ticket to attend the concert or venue, you have a legal obligation. I mean, this is common sense, but you have a legal obligation to make sure your venue is safe from foreseeable harm. What are foreseeable harms? Stampedes and thousands of people getting crushed is an absolute common sense foreseeable harm. Period. No questions asked. There are cases in Houston that are published that talk about this duty. It's a well-established duty. There's just no argument on that. The only thing that perhaps a venue would not be responsible for, possibly, is if the venue or the artist engaged in some sort of criminal conduct, like if Travis Scott threw a beer bottle and hit somebody over the head and, caused a laceration. Would the venue be responsible? Probably not responsible for the criminal acts of Travis Scott. But certainly Travis Scott would be responsible for something like that. That's what we're looking at here. So without a doubt, I think there are many layers of people who are responsible for the injuries. Travis Scott, if you didn't hear me say this before, I'm going to say it again. Travis Scott will absolutely be sued if he hasn't been sued already. There are at least 3 lawsuits that I know of that have been filed as a result of this travesty. And I'm sure all of them have named, I haven't looked at all the complaints, but I'm sure all of them will name Travis Scott. So yes, he has some level of responsibility, some level of culpability. So the next question is, how do we know that Travis Scott? What could Travis Scott have done, right? So the flip side is, you're a rapper, you're on stage in front of 50,000 people. What could you have done differently to prevent people from dying and prevent people from getting seriously injured? And what photos, and thanks to TikTok and Instagram and social media, photos and video taken by attendees live at the event have confirmed that at the very least, security was 100% aware that there were serious problems, meaning people were getting trampled. People were getting pressed up against the wall. You'll see pictures of this steel barricade, or what looks like to be a steel with wood sort of buttressed up against it. Those barriers generally can withstand 1,000 pounds of pressure. So just imagine you're in the crowd and you're getting pressed against something that is not going to break down. You can't kick it down. It's going to withstand 1,000 pounds of crowd pressure. You're going to suffocate. You're going to break bones. No question about it. So we have these images of, you've seen the one perhaps of the girl who jumps up on the cameraman's platform and is yelling, saying, there's somebody dead. People are dying. What's up? Let's do something about this. You got to stop this. And the guy's yelling at her. The camera guy's like yelling at her, like as if she's getting, in his way, blocking a good clip of Travis Scott. The guy has a walkie-talkie. You can see it in his back pocket. He could have picked up the phone and said, guys, we've got a problem. And he is actually elevated. So I can't tell how high that is, but it's at least a 6-foot, 7-foot platform, because you need a ladder to climb up on it. You can't just jump on this platform. So at the very least, the camera crew can see. And the camera crew could be one of two different categories of people. They could be employees of the venue who are broadcasting live onto screens that are there. They could also be part of Travis Scott's crew. In this situation, I think they may have been venue employees. Either way, it may not matter, because at the end of the day, that person had the ability to inform the rest of the security and everybody else as to what was going on. They had sort of a heightened sense of what was happening. They didn't care. They did not care. Then you have the security guards that are on the perimeter. And these are the guys that are wearing usually the bright yellow or bright green shirts. It says security on them. Part of the whole reason you have security at a venue, at a concert, especially a rap concert, Travis Scott no less, is to keep the peace, to watch for problems. It's not just to make sure that drunk fights don't happen, right? Or to break up brawls. It's to make sure people are safe, in addition to the performers. You can see people yelling at the security like, we're getting crushed. And even if they're not saying it verbally, their faces say it all, right? A picture's worth 1,000 words. You can see the desperation of these people. They're kids. I mean, 17, 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds. They're youngsters. And even they know this is not going to end well. And they're trying desperately to wave their arms and yell and throw stuff. Nobody's doing anything about it. What's perhaps the icing on the cake, I think, for a plaintiff's lawyer suing to establish liability is to show that Travis Scott was approached on stage during the concert by two individuals who look like they are employees of the venue. They could also be just members of Travis Scott's crew, but they're telling him that there's a problem. We don't know, and we're speculating what was actually said. Only Travis Scott knows, and only the two people who approached him know. But what it appears is immediately after they approached him on stage while this is happening, Travis Scott asked everybody, put your hand in the air and point up in the air and put two hands in the air. And he's seeing people are responding. So he's thinking, well, everything's fine and dandy and we're good to go. What a mistake. What Travis Scott should have done was stopped the concert, period. On top of that, he's, like we talked about, he's being approached by these two individuals telling them that there's a problem. Somebody calls to his attention what is actually happening. At one point, he stops and he's looking down at the crowd. You can see sort of a state of confusion on his face. But the conclusion is really that he doesn't really care. Again, we're sort of speculating, but the concert didn't stop. Travis Scott should have just completely called the concert off. He should have stopped. He should have told people to take a step back. Instead, he kind of egged it on and it continued. So my quick and dirty legal analysis, we have yet to get the facts out about precisely what happens. Videos are still surfacing from the tragedies, and it's really hard to watch. But for me to look at it as a lawyer, I'm going with Travis Scott definitely has some blood on his hands, because I think he could have done more to stop this from happening. I think he could definitely have asked security or himself. He could have just taken the mic and said, everybody slow down, everybody move back, stop the music, what's going on? Because you can see it right from the front purview. I know Travis Scott has made a public statement, and obviously his lawyers have probably counseled him to be careful on what you say. But without a doubt, I would say that I don't think he's even said enough. Like right now, they're urging people to, he's telling people, like, if you were injured, we're happy to help cover costs, and, they'll cover the costs of funerals. And yeah, that's helpful. I mean, it's helpful. I mean, he's obviously, he released a very emotional statement. He didn't say I'm sorry, but again, that's probably because lawyers have told him not to. And again, if you're just just tuning in, I would say this. I do think Travis Scott has some culpability. I do think that this could have been prevented to some degree by Travis Scott the second he knew that things were going south. It looks to me that he actually had knowledge of what was happening on the ground. For sure, the venue has culpability. This was foreseeable. It's preventable. You're having, for God's sakes, a Travis Scott concert. What do you think is going to happen? People are going to stand and sing lullabies. It's going to get crazy. People are going to rush the stage. There's going to be pushing. So all of this is something you should prepare for. So horrible, horrible situation. Stay tuned. This is part one. As we learn more about the lawsuits and as we hear a defense position, to the extent that there is a defense position, we're going to make sure to cover that for you guys. If you feel differently, if you think Travis Scott should be scot-free, leave your comments on this. We'll upload this video to our YouTube channel as well as on our Instagram page. But we definitely want to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think. Otherwise, enjoy your evening, and we'll talk soon.